You live in Turner Valley or Black Diamond?
Turner Valley.
In Turner Valley. And how long have you lived there, sir?
About 19 years now.
About 19 years? Okay.
Coming up 20.
Coming up 20. And it's your birthday today.
You got her.
So a good way to celebrate your birthday with your friends?
Well, you bet. And I made myself, I set a goal. I said, I love it so much up here, I'm going to make sure I live till I'm 80. And I made it.
81 years old today. Good for you, sir. Now, tell me a little bit about your background. You by American by birth. Now, you were born out at Long Island Way. Tell us a little bit about your journey from there to here.
Oh, that's a long haul. I was born in Rockville Center, Long Island, small. Actually, it's a vacation town about 30 miles east of New York City. At the time, I was going to a boarding school, a military academy, Valley Forge Military Academy, and on Christmas break, my dad and my brother, who were still both alive at the time, said, "You know, Don, it might be a good idea for you to drop out of school and enlist in the forces, because sure as can be, the minute you walk off the grounds of Valley Forge, you're going to be drafted. There's no question. You'll be drafted. I would give it 6 weeks at the very most." And I was at the academy on a music scholarship from the University of Pittsburgh. And so at any rate, he said that I should enlist, and perhaps they have something in the music program in the American military, which in fact they did. Make a long story short, I took an audition with the United States Army Band in Washington, well, actually the U.S. Army Field Band. They're the traveling unit of the U.S. Army Band. And I spent 6 years with the U.S. Army Field Band. I got out and went in Civvy Street, and I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. I don't like Civvy. Didn't like Civvy Street then, and I don't like it now. I was born to be in the military. It was the way I like to live my life. A lot of guys rib me about. He carried a 303 caliber flute. That's what he did in the military. He was a musician, and I used to take a lot of ribbing for that. But that's another story. But a lot of it goes on in here too, especially from these guys up here. They're old soldiers. The discipline is a lot more stringent in the Canadian forces than it is in the Americans. The American forces have a tendency to be a bit slack-ass, if you like. Excuse me. Had a tendency to be a little bit on the slack side. That's better.
The Canadian forces are not so slack, eh?
Oh no. The Canadian forces, like if you had a little bit of lint on your uniform, you got dinged for it. Cost you $10 or $15. You'd get fined. And of course, in the field. Although I'm a musician, I still am a musician, but I'm retired. We wore the battle dress and the steel pot and the flak jacket and all this business, but we weren't in combat. We were on standby, like a musician in the military, American and Canadian. A musician had a second. Had a primary job and a secondary. In our secondary as a musician, we were litter bearers to carry wounded off the battlefield to the nearest aid station. And that was our secondary job, and I never got called on to do that. I was fortunate. I've seen a lot of the guys that suffered a lot when they were over there, but I was never really involved with the fighting. Our job was to bring morale to the troops. And we did, I remember one show we did in Bad Nauheim, Germany. And we had over 10,000 people attend that particular, and we did a lot of shows like that because the American troops, especially the peacekeepers, they're lonesome, they want to go home, they've had enough, and they wanted something to build the morale of the troop. What can we do? Do you remember the Bob Hope shows?
The USO.
We did the same thing, but all in uniform. So we entertained. We put on a 2.5-hour show, and when the troops when our show was finished, the troops went nuts. Literally, they went nuts. They wouldn't let us out of the arena. It was just so rewarding, and that was our job, was to build the morale of the troops overseas. The public at large is more aware of the veterans, what they went through, and how the Canadian public views servicemen. Like I was selling poppies with my wife the other day at Walmart, and 3 times, 3 different people came up and bought a poppy from me and reached over to shake my hand and say thank you. Well, I'll tell you, that just made my whiskers stand up. It was just such a great feeling. And that told me that I knew then why I was there. And it was such a wonderful feeling that these people would not only buy a poppy, but take the trouble to reach over, shake my hand, and say thank you. Unfortunately, over the years, Remembrance Day has become another day, if you like. The veterans just are not recognized the way I, in my humble opinion, feel they should be treated. But that's a whole other story. I could sit here all night and talk about that. But these guys, they're my brothers. Every one of them, they're my brothers. I don't mean to coin a corny cliche. I'm not trying to coin a corny cliche. That's a mouthful. But that's the way a lot of us feel about our brothers, if you like.